A further 122 objects potentially from the missing Malaysian plane have been identified by satellite. The images taken on March 23rd showed objects up to 23 meters in length. All aircrafts taking part in today's search have now left the area without identifying debris from the plane. Newsfirst Shamir Rasuddin, who has been closely watching the developments on MH370, joins us now and dwells deep into the missing flight.
No concrete information has come to light regarding the missing flight MH370. Family members of those on board the missing flight say the authorities have failed to provide them with evidence that the plane had in fact crashed in the southern Indian Ocean. Now, this is a Boeing 777-200, a recreation of the MH370 flight. What happened to this flight on the 9th of March? Malaysian Prime Minister said on Monday that the plane had ended its journey in the southern Indian Ocean. Inmarsat, which monitored the movements of the plane when it went missing of primary and secondary data, came to the conclusion about the flight's path and where this particular flight in question had crashed. The British satellite company used the Doppler effect to calculate and conclude the flight's path. Now, US criminologist Professor Jason Kistner challenges the verdict of the missing flight MH370, and he joins us now from California. A very good evening and welcome to Newsfirst. Professor, starting off, tell us what happened to flight MH370.
Well, like most other people around the world, I would say that it seems to be indeterminate. But I suppose, unlike many people, I'm willing to consider assigning reasonable probabilities to certain possibilities that others are just willing to dismiss out of hand, or actually probably more accurate, especially if you're talking about mainstream media, at least here in the United States, aren't even really willing to talk about at all, which is something I find somewhat suspicious in and of itself. So I consider it reasonably likely that there was some form of electronic intrusion with respect to this aircraft, such that it was redirected.
Electronic intrusion. Is this possible? Can this be done?
But as far as being able to electronically guide an aircraft to a desired destination, there's no doubt whatsoever that that's possible. Anybody can go on YouTube and see that that was done with respect to a Boeing aircraft landing in very treacherous territory, entirely on autopilot. I believe the landing zone was near Tibet somewhere. There's no doubt that it can be done.
Let's say someone guided the aircraft, Professor, as you suggested. If so, what's the fate of flight MH370?
I've been trying to reflect on it carefully and thinking about what I would do with regard to an assessment of the probabilities there. And I have to say that the longer the time frame goes on that nothing is found, then I start to lean more towards the crash hypothesis. But I still haven't seen any evidence to direct a person away from the prospect that this was a hijacking. And interestingly enough, in spite of the fact that they pretty much seem to want to put this investigation on the shelf.
The Malaysian Prime Minister on Monday said, Professor, that the plane had ended in the South Indian Ocean. Inmarsat, which monitored the movements of the plane, came to the conclusion, using the Doppler effect, that the plane had gone down 1,500 miles southwest of Perth. Your take on this?
I found that really quite fascinating, to be honest. So now they've all of a sudden figured out a brand new way to analyze the data that they couldn't have done several days ago. And it just seems to me to be very, very, very abrupt. And I would like to see, well, so what's the data set? Why should we believe that all of the satellite signals were reliable signals? Could one or more of them have been spoofed?
A few days after the aircraft goes missing, Professor, the Malaysian authorities said that the pilots had deliberately switched off the transponder. My question is, mustn't the ground staff inform the pilots that they are off radar, and why did this information come so late?
I was very, very surprised by that as well. So yes, I did find that kind of suspect, and I was kind of bewildered about exactly what happened in connection with that.
Professor, will the black box of the plane solve the mystery in terms of flight MH370?
Will we find the black box? It'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be terribly surprised, although perhaps it is a bit cynical. Maybe the black box magically materializes right after that battery signal, or sorry, the debris. The debris magically materializes right after that black box signal has been lost. Who knows?